As the episode begins, we get what was, at the time, a bit of world building, reinforcing the idea that the Pegasi control the weather in Equestria. In this case, it seems that they missed a light shower that was scheduled earlier and plan to make up for it with a storm that will destroy everything in its path. I have a good feeling about this. Meanwhile, Applejack is busy clearing out the loose tree branches so that when the storm hits, it won't, do exactly what I just said it would. It seems that Rarity is volunteering to help as well, but she's wearing her fashion goggles that make her see everything as an art project. Between this and Applejack getting covered in mud while taking shelter from the rain, we have our established conflict for the episode. Rarity is more creative and fusses over little things, while Applejack is more practical and likes to get down and dirty. However, will this odd couple see eye to eye? Fortunately, Twilight offers to help them out after assuring them that her tree library is indeed safe, being protected by a magical lightning rod. Just like Twilight herself will be a magical lightning rod for their rising sexual tension. Tension. Just regular tension, nothing suggestive about this episode. Since this is the first time Twilight has ever had friends staying over for the night, she decides it's the perfect opportunity for her first ever slumber party. Now, some people have criticized this scene as being out of character for Twilight, what with her saying that she's always wanted a slumber party, even though the rest of the series is reinforced over and over again the idea that she didn't want friends before coming to Ponyville. But really, let's think about this. Twilight grew up in Canterlot, and we now know that many of the unicorns in Canterlot tend to be very elitist and focused on more shallow interests. After all, these are the ponies who criticized Rarity for being too country. And we also know that Twilight is not strictly antisocial. She knows how to handle herself in front of others. So with all this in mind, I don't think Twilight saw friendship as necessarily being bad, but rather I think she saw the process of making friends as being full of superficial bullshit and decided it was a big, unnecessary pain in the ass. As for the slumber party itself, though, I think it has more to do with the fact that there are certain things our society hypes up to the point that it sounds really enticing, regardless of whether it's something you would actually enjoy. It's just one of those things that you hear about all the time and think, man, I really have to experience that. Now, setting aside the slumber party, think about parties in general. Just a regular house party, bunch of people getting together, hanging out, talking, maybe there are drinks, maybe there's music, maybe you're at one of those crazy high school parties where anything can happen according to Hollywood. It sounds like a great time, but like the Grand Galloping Gala, then you get there and it's boring, it's crowded, and it's hard to find anyone that you really want to spend time with. Yeah, if it's not already obvious, I don't really care for parties all that much, but damn it if I don't love the idea of a party. And that's my review of Best Night Ever. 6 out of 10, I don't even know what I'm fucking doing here. But getting back to the actual episode, I think that's why it's even funnier and also more understandable that Twilight has all these expectations for a slumber party based on what she read in a book. So they go through all the motions, giving makeovers, eating s'mores, telling ghost stories, and of course it's one of the stories that Rainbow Dash tells later in Sleepless in Ponyville. Only by that time, AJ and Rarity aren't afraid of the story anymore and instead take the opportunity to poke fun at all of its logical flaws. So what's next?
The next item of fun we have to do is Truth or Dare.
Ooh. Dare. Okay, to be fair, there's nothing in the rules that says the game has to be inherently dirty. It's just one of those things where people just kinda sorta understand that that's what Truth or Dare is actually about. But after Applejack and Rarity spend the entire night fighting, they can really only end this one way. By getting in bed together. Alright, I'm sorry, but at this point, it's hard to deny that for Rarajack shippers, you pretty much just need to look at this episode for all the justification you'll ever need. And the way the characters interact in later episodes like the Crystal Empire really doesn't help sway that point of view either. But we're not done yet. As the two continue fighting, Twilight wakes up and yells at them for ruining her slumber party. And I have to admit, even without following a checklist, fighting with your friends tends to make for a pretty bad time. Just then, lightning strikes a tree just outside the window. Applejack leaps into action to keep it from falling onto a neighboring house, and despite Rarity's warning, pulls it inside the library by accident. Okay, so now there's a tree inside a tree. Does this count as tree sex? I bet this counts as tree sex. Might as well, it fits everything else in this episode. It's here that the odd couple finally has to acknowledge the value in what they each have to offer. AJ, who's now trying to get the tree out of the library, is more focused on the big picture, and it's generally a good thing that she can do all the tough, messy work that needs to get done. But not every situation needs her full brute force, and listening to Rarity would have prevented this mess in the first place, as she's more focused on smaller details and had noticed which way the tree was going to fall. The two make up and start working together. Huh, I guess AJ did learn her lesson about asking for help after Applebuck season. Why did we need to revisit that in a later episode? And in the end, they redo the slumber party, having learned that even though they're different, they can still work together. Hey, wait a minute, didn't I just see a movie about this? This is one of those early season 1 episodes from when the show was still trying to build itself up, and the characters do have to suffer through some really clunky dialogue at times, making them come off as a bit one-dimensional. Back when I first saw this for the first time, I still wasn't a devoted fan, but it's an episode that I've come to appreciate more with repeated viewings. It doesn't reach the heights of some of the later episodes like Suited for Success or Winter Wrap-Up, but it does give some much-needed screen time to two characters who are often either misused or completely ignored, and it's definitely better than some of the other episodes that came out at the same time. Plus, I'd like to think that this experience helped influence the characters later on.
Afraid to get dirty?
I give Look Before You Sleep a 7 out of 10.